Hello and welcome to another episode of World Traveler Cooking. Today we're going to make jambalaya, which is an American Cajun classic or Creole classic. We will make the Creole version today. Now this is apparently a relatively complicated dish, but don't get too intimidated. It's not too technically difficult. If you get intimidated by it, you can of course bake it in the oven instead of cooking it on the stovetop like I will be doing today. Now, if you cook it on the stovetop, the one thing you have to note is we're not making risotto, so we don't want to stir it constantly, but we do want to make sure that it doesn't burn, so we're going to be stirring it on a particular schedule. So there is that. Now, this dish comes from Louisiana, and there are two different versions of it. There's the Cajun version, and there's the Creole version, and they're a little different. Sometime I might do a Cajun version so you can compare. Now, the Creole version has tomatoes in it, it has sometimes okra in it, the seasoning's a little different, but the overall tone of the dish is the same. Sort of a spicy rice infused with broth, cooked with chicken, usually smokey sausage and shrimp, along with veggies and so forth. So, that's the basic point here. I'm going to go over most of the ingredients, but I'm going to cover the seasoning palettes separately. So I'll have the camera in a different position so I can show you all the seasonings there. Now, our first major ingredient here are Andouille sausages. This is a particular Louisiana Cajun sausage, and these are smoked. If you cannot get Andouille sausage, note these are a little spicy also, but you can always add a little more chili pepper. So the next best thing to use is a smoked Eastern European sausage like Polish kielbasa or any other smoked Eastern European or even Central European sausage. So that's the first thing. And we're going to use roughly half a kilogram of these. You can use more or you can use less. I should also say there may be some talking in the background. Today there are other people over. I'm definitely cooking for a significant crowd. And this is definitely a dish you would definitely save for cooking for a crowd. So we also have about half a kilogram of shrimp, shelled, deveined if you like. We have, ideally you'd use at least 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts or 2 boneless, skinless thighs. I have more than that because one person I am cooking for today has a shrimp allergy. So I'll be cooking a little more chicken, and I'll be reserving some of the chicken to go in place of shrimp on part of this dish. For the veggies, we have 2 ribs of celery. We have 3 smallish bell peppers. You can use 2 large ones. You can mix green, yellow, red, however you like. I have a green one, an orange one, and a red one. I have 4 cloves of garlic. I have 1 onion. I cut the ends off because I actually use the ends to make the chicken broth. I have a liter or a quart of chicken broth. About a cup and a half or 400 milliliters of rice. I haven't weighed that, but I will. I have a can of crushed tomatoes. I'm using Italian crushed tomatoes here, but American ones would work just as well. We'll use some green onion along it that'll go in with the okra, and we'll use some more of this to garnish. We'll add at least 1 of these of okra, maybe both. We'll see. And those are our main ingredients. So let me go ahead and cover the spicing palette next, and then we'll get started by prepping our sausage, and our chicken, and our peppers, onions, celery, that sort of thing. So that's that. Next up, the spicing palette. So for the seasonings, I'm going to cover this one first because it's simpler. We have 1 bay leaf. We have maybe half a teaspoon or so. This should be cayenne pepper, but I just have some generic dried chilies from Indonesia, so they should be pretty spicy. They'll probably be comparable, and I have about a teaspoon or so of thyme. Now here we have our Creole seasonings, and they're a little bit more disorganized. I have 4 teaspoons of paprika, sweet paprika in this case. You can add a bit of smoky paprika to make it, give it a little more of a smoky flavor, and I might do that. I might add some additional smoky paprika if I want. I have another teaspoon or so of thyme, a teaspoon of chili pepper. You can make this less if you like something that's a bit less spicy. I have a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of pepper, and half a teaspoon of salt. So that's what I have for seasonings. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to dice the celery, onion, and peppers before we go any further, and I will cut the sausages. I'll show you some of this in a moment. So, to prepare the sausage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half like this, and then I'm going to cut into half rounds. So from here, it's just like that. I'm going to do that with all the sausage. So we're going to make this in a relatively large pot today. So I'm going to pour in just a bit of oil. That's probably more than I need, but it'll carry over to the next step if there is. We're just going to let this heat up a little bit, and then we will pour in the chicken, which I have cut into pieces about the same size as the sausage. And you saw how I cut the sausage. So I think now I'm just going to go ahead and add this. You can hear it sizzle a bit, which is perfect. And we will add our sausage. And I'm just going to stir this around, and we will stir it and cook it for 5 to 7 minutes until the chicken is fully cooked through and the sausage is just starting to brown. So I'll be back at that point. While that is cooking, you can see I've diced my veggies. Some people like to dice them much finer. I'm dicing them more coarse today. Do however you like. And I've taken the garlic, I've peeled it, and I've bruised it. And this is celery, peppers, onions, and garlic. So that's our first stage of veggies. I'll cut the okra and the green onions later. So, stuff's cooked through. I can see just a little bit of browning first on the chicken and on the bottom of the pan. So I think now is a good time to take this off the heat. I'm just going to take a look, make sure this is cooked through. Yes, it is. So now we'll just scoop this out into a new bowl, and we will set this aside. So, next up, once this is sizzling again, we're going to add our veggies. And we're going to saute these another 5 to 7 minutes until the onions are soft. So, I'll be back when that's the case. See you in a bit. Okay, so now I can see the onions are getting soft. So I'm going to start adding my seasonings. And I had these seasonings broken out just so I could show you the Creole seasonings specifically. And here we are going to stir this together. Ooh, that's smelling good. That's smelling really good right away. And then I'm going to add the broth. And I'm just going to stir this just a little bit to incorporate. And next in go the tomatoes and the rice. Now I'm going to stir this once now, and then I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes, and just every 5 minutes I'm going to come back and give it a little bit of a stir. Again, we're not making risotto, but we don't want it to burn. So this the timer just went off. I am going to go ahead and stir it. And this time it may be sticking a little bit. So basically you want to stir it up nice so that nothing is stuck to the bottom. This is the third time the timer's gone off, so that gives you some sense. And now we'll set it back up. I also like to use these opportunities to taste it. Adjust seasonings if necessary. And check on how the rice is cooking. I think I need to add just a little more salt. I'll be back in another 5 minutes and do the same thing. And I'll keep that up until it's been cooking like this for about half an hour. Then I'm going to separate out the stuff that I don't want to put the shrimp into. And we'll add the shrimp and the okra and green onion. So after the fifth stirring, this is what it looks like. I think this is about ready for the next step. So I'm going to reserve whatever I want to give for those who can't have shrimp. Maybe just a little more. Again, sorry for the background noise. And at this point, I'm going to add my shrimp. And I'll split the okra and green onions between the one with shrimp and the one without. And at this point, I'm just going to put it back on the on a low heat. Low flame, and we're just going to cook this for a few minutes until the shrimp are all the way cooked. So I'm going to stir these in on both sides, and then we'll just wait for these to cook. We can remove the bay leaf at this point too when we find it. And just look at how this is looking. Okay, so these shrimp are looking mostly cooked at this point. There will be some carryover cooking, so we don't have to get them all the way done, but it's better to be safe than sorry. I'm just going to stir in the rest of the, I've stirred in some of the chicken and sausage into the no shrimp pot. I'm going to stir in the rest into the shrimp pot, and I'm just going to stir this very nicely, make sure everything's incorporated, and then we will serve and do the taste test. Okay, so for serving, I'm just going to, this is just a taste test, so I'm not trying to serve myself anywhere near a full serving. So I'm just going to get a little bit with some of everything. And then I'm going to top it with some more green onions. So add a little bit of color that way. And here is our jambalaya. I'm going to take some photos of it, and then I am going to do the taste test. And now for the taste test. I love this dish. It's complex, nuanced. You get these layers of flavor, like the sourness from the tomatoes, the smokiness from the sausage and the smoked paprika, the spices. Everything just comes together and makes this just a really wonderful dish. It's a bit spicy. It's not too spicy. Quite tasty. Yeah, this is delicious. I really like it. So, if you find this content interesting, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have anything to say about this dish, you make it differently, please let me know in the comments how you do it differently. On top of that, recipes in the description. Bon appetit, and see you next week.